Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment, a podcast devoted to helping you overcome challenges in your life that prevent you from becoming the best version of yourself. Each episode features interviews with people from all walks of life about their journey of self-development and the principles they utilize to overcome their fears to achieve their desired outcome. Ready to be enlightened? Here's your host, Ken Primus.
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, I like to take this time to welcome our guests because I know they're coming with a couple of things very expensive in my eyes, and that is first their time. Time is a critical gift that has been given to every one of us 24 hours, and so we want to thank D-REK for coming and sharing some of this precious time with us. The other is the journey. The journey is a powerful creator. It created him, and so we want to thank him for coming and spending both of these precious commodity here with us at Threads of Enlightenment. Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you finally, Ken, after all the emails.
It is an honor, man. I always give you, as I mentioned, the opportunity to introduce yourself, man. Go ahead.
My name is D-REK. I know that's a weird name. That is actually my DJ name that I have taken and turned into an advocate, a health advocate. And so let's go all the way back and explain how this journey started. I was 3 months old and my family found out that I had what was called transposition of the great arteries, which back in the 80s, I don't know if you ever heard the term blue babies. That means that the blood was cycling in reverse. So I was getting unoxygenated blood going out to my body. And the oxygenated blood just kept flowing around the heart. So they go in and they correct that with a surgery. During the surgery, there was a minor error that caused me to need a pacemaker. And it was 3 months in intensive care because this surgery is in early of 1985. So it's pretty brutal. It's tubes everywhere. I've got chest tube scars. They broke every rib. I've got a full, complete zipper scar down my chest and then onto my stomach. So I'm pretty rough looking, beat up wise from the chest if you look at all the scars. And went from there, made it through, got out of the hospital, went home. Had fairly normal childhood growing up, had friends. The only thing that was different was I would get sick with usually a bronchitis or pneumonia just about every year. And it was just always attributed back to the heart problem. It's got a bad heart. There's always going to be, medical issues and struggles. Not a whole lot of thought put into that. This is way before Google, so you couldn't ask WebMD or look anything up. You had to trust your doctor. And that's what my family did. I was 15 and I needed my third pacemaker implanted. I'm currently on number 5. And I went through that surgery and I came out really, really bad. I came out rough. I wasn't breathing to the point that doctors and nurses had to jump on the bed, start CPR on me as they're going down the hallway. They got me back. I got home and I had a bad cough that I couldn't get rid of. So I ended up going to a pulmonologist. At this point, I'm 15 years old. I'm 4 foot tall and I'm 55 pounds. I walk into the pulmonologist office and the first thing he does is he looks at me and he goes, "What are your medical issues?" And I just kind of look back and I said, "You've got my chart. You know my medical issues." I said, "It's my heart. It's a bad heart." And he told me, he said, "Your heart doesn't have a thing to do with your height, weight. Someone's lied to you." So he ran me through every test a pulmonologist, is set up for, and everything came back negative. I didn't have anything that he was looking for. So he decided to send me down to Gainesville, Florida, which I was very unhappy about. I don't know if you know much about American football, but I'm a Georgia Bulldog, and that is the home of the Florida Gators. So I'm not thrilled to be there in the first place. But I started seeing an endocrinologist, and they put me on human growth hormone. And within the course of about 16 months, I gained a foot in height and over 50 pounds. And I was giving myself, or I didn't give myself, I cannot give myself a shot. I don't know why. But family was giving me a shot every night of this human growth hormone, and it worked really well. It got me to just over 5 foot, and I'm right at 100, 105 pounds now. So it did work, but one day I went to see my doctor, and she walks in, and I found out that I was a part of her teaching, which what they do is they bring in someone's medical record, and they blot out your name and everything, and they just show the students, you have a patient that presents with this, this, and this. What do you do? Excuse me. One girl in the class raised her hand, and she said she had gone through the entire medical record. She said he had blood transfusions in 1985, and I do not see any record of an HIV test. And that was the day they asked me to submit to an HIV test, which I did. Went home 2 weeks later, came back, and I got the results, and it was AIDS. I was in the late stages of an AIDS diagnosis. 16 years I had survived not knowing this virus was in me.
Wow. That's an amazing story, man, to have and to hear. And having all of that, when you found that out, what did it do to you?
My first thought was, I'm dead. I mean, which is a lot of, even today, that's everybody's first thought is, I'm dead, I'm dying. And thankfully today, that's not true. There's meds, there's plenty of treatments. When I got diagnosed, I went home, and they gave me about 2 weeks to just kind of pull myself together to get ready for the fight that I had in front of me. And they had to build a treatment plan for me. So I went home, got the treatment plan, went back, came back home, and I was on 24 pills a day, 4 times a day. I was taking 24 total, not 24 every 4 times a day, but 24 pills a day was the regimen. 7, 11, 3, and 11. So there was not more than 5 hours that I got that was peaceful in a day without thinking about that virus and what it was doing to me. But the treatment worked. It was rough. It was a rough 4 years of that regimen, and it got me all the way to undetectable. And from there, I ended up having to drop out of school because it was just too much. And I ended up getting my GED and kind of went off and just kind of tried to figure out who I wanted to be in the world. And life would take a really wild turn at that point because I was spending a lot of time at home, and we had just bought a computer with a CD burner. So I started making burnt CDs for my friends. I was the music pirate, as most people were back in those days. Well, I didn't find out until about a year or two later that these CDs that I was making were making it into the little nightclubs that were around town because I was getting the newest music for my friends and putting it on CDs for them.
Yeah.
And when I finally got to go into some of these clubs, I met the DJs, and I, would write my name on the desk, and they met me. They would ask me, well, stand up here and just help And so what I was doing was I would take a Post-it note and I would write it on the CD case, play this song, and then I would line up a couple CDs that way. Because they were using triple disc players at this time. Computers had just come into the DJ world. And so that was how I started to learn what DJing was and how much fun it was. And I was doing it to make sure my friends were having the best night they could have going out. And so it kind of became an exchange of, I'll help you pick the songs if you'll teach me what all the other equipment is, because I had no clue. I didn't know what a mixer was. I didn't know about all these cables, all that stuff. So go through all that. A friend of mine loved karaoke. She was always singing karaoke. One night, I don't know what hit me, but out of the blue, I thought I would just try it. Because she just was always like, just give it a try. I mean, it's fun. And I picked a song that would follow me even still to this day. Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. And this is right when the little flip cameras came out that had the camera on the front. And the club had just gotten wireless microphones. Well, I know that song by heart, so I didn't need the video screen with the words. I watched it to see when to start, and I just took off. And I walked all the way through this club, and the entire place was up and singing with me. And that got back to the owner, who then called me and said, "You need to be here." He said, "Come back, and I will make sure that you are trained as a DJ." He said, "I need you." He said, "We need that energy in this town." And so I did, and I learned, and I spent all of my 20s in nightclubs DJing. And when I hit 30, I was still working, but I had an idea of, I want to do something more. I want to give back to the community, because I was doing charity events, DJing. I was doing different charity events and seeing the power behind that, behind the music, and how much you could accomplish being in that position. So I accidentally spoke an idea in my head outside to a friend of mine. And it was this idea of, what if I could get a bunch of classic cars, a Grinch costume, and put someone in it, and get the police involved, and have this toy drive with getaway cars, a police escort, because there's a Grinch lurking around. And how much fun could we have with the idea of just this wild, wild, wild toy drive? And the first year we did it was so much fun, because the cops, when at the end of the toy drive, they go full lights and sirens. We line up all the cars. The Grinch has been arrested because he's tried to steal some of the toys and steal a car. So he's arrested. He's in the back of a cop car. And we take the toys to the local pediatric ward. And then he gets to get out of the car, take his handcuffs off. And we play out the story of the Grinch, basically. He meets some patients and he starts giving out toys. So I play out the whole kind of Grinch story, just in a different way. But you get to see his heart grow and his mentality change throughout the day. And we're on our 8th year of that. And last year was a record-breaking year for us.
Wow.
But it's raised over.
Wow. So
we've raised over $10,000 and close to 10,000 toys.
That's impressive, having what you said, a thought just jumping out of your head and sharing it with a friend. As you were doing all of these things, and how were you, the individual, handling all of that? How were you? How was life affecting you? How was doing all of these things? How were you growing up, if you will, as an individual amongst all of that stuff happening to you and around you?
I'm honestly still growing up. I mean, I'm learning new things every day. I always live with that mentality that every person's got something to teach you. Because you got to be quiet long enough to figure out what they're trying to teach you. And I was just going all out. I mean, I was kind of nonstop because I don't like to stop. Because when I do, I get in my head too much and I start thinking and I see the scars. I know I'm just getting older and this body's just getting more worn down and wore out. And because of the virus, you have what is known as advanced aging. So your body wears down faster. And I just turned 40 a couple weeks ago and I can feel it.
Congrats.
I mean, I feel 40. I had a stroke last year out of nowhere. Just hit me out of nowhere. So, yeah, the moments when I do slow down, it forces me to look at the entire situation. So, I hate to slow down. I actually try to avoid it, but I'd always tell people I'm the worst example to follow. I'm not the one to aspire to be because I'm a wrecking ball. I'm just breaking my way through life. I don't know any other way.
But you're breaking pretty good because you've accomplished much that a lot of people, if you think about it, that do not have as many challenges as you have from such a young age all the way to today. Your accomplishments and what you have done, regardless of all of those painful physical ailments, is an accomplishment that maybe I think you would be surprised who some may need to follow that tenacity that you have to make life a little more interesting, if you will, than just laying around and doing nothing, as you have accomplished most of those things that many haven't, with a healthy body and just drifting through life. What would be an advice that you would give to someone, I guess, if they're just drifting through life? I mean, what is it that you think would be able to, some advice to get them to get off the couch, if you will, and get involved in the game?
Well, as weird as it's gonna sound, I look back now and the virus was actually a big blessing to me. I always had kind of a ticking clock in my head with the pacemakers because the pacemakers only last 5 to 10 years. But the virus let me know that I'm on a timer. I'm on a timer. So when you have that kind of in the back of your mind, you let the wilder, crazier thoughts, the what if thoughts come in. And then you start kind of sitting down and writing it out and going, if I really, really wanted to do it, this is where I start. And you start to put the pieces together. And when you put the pieces together, you really get amazed at the people that will support those wilder ideas because they're not wild at all. And some people really hunger for them.
Yeah, I start off the interview by always making reference to time and the importance of it, because as I got older, I began to understand some of the values of it and recognizing the value of it in your life. And then it propels you, as you just eloquently spoke, that it propels you to do things and to get involved because you realize that you are on a timer, and we're all on that timer, as you state. And when you begin to be aware of it, you want to get a few things done, if you will. You want to make sure that your life counts, if you will, is another terminology that I hear people say a lot of. And so it's necessary for us to get a picture about the urgency of time, because it does help us a lot. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of people don't focus on it because, they think they have all the time. And none of us guarantee any of that stuff. We just, so we just have to learn how to take a day at a time and whatever is offered to us and make it count as they would teach us. So here you are, man. You've gone through so much physically, mentally, and all of these things. And yet you found your assignment. I tell people, always try the best to find your assignment. Your assignment is that thing that you love to do, and you can do it 40 hours a day if there was such a day, and still not be tired. Just enjoy it. And when you get there and you found your gift and your assignment, life becomes a little different versus getting a job and working at a company and just having your day disappear. Talk to us about that, because you found yours in a really interesting way as you laid out how it happened, and then you began to negotiate and navigate your way into learning the art and all those different things. You had mentioned that once you found it, how you became excited. Talk to us about that, because that's important. And I tell people that piece right there, when you find it, you get this kind of joy that walks with you for the rest of your life while you're in your assignment. And it always changes, but it has that baseline of the same theme moving through. How did it affect you, and what does it do to you even today?
It actually, it gives me a lot of strength. I get a lot of energy from crowds when I'm the DJ, and it's fun to be the guy that's playing the music and seeing the reactions in the moment, and people hyped up and singing along and having fun because of something that I'm doing, that I'm choosing for them. They don't know the next song. I do. And to be able to be the guy that they trust with that, and to see and to look back at some of the videos and pictures and stuff that I've captured over the years. I mean, it's incredible when you think of people don't think about how, if you've never been on stage or felt that, it's hard to kind of relay it, but you do get just this huge rush of energy that comes back to you from a crowd. And from working in nightclubs is where I learned the skills to build the toy drive. So it all kind of it came together in such a just perfect way for me to, when I got away from the nightclub stuff as much, to go off on my own and build this toy drive. I had the knowledge of so many events that I had done under my belt, so many Halloweens, New Year's Eve. Some of these clubs were 700 to 1,000 people capacity. So, I mean, they were massive, massive events. The planning would take months and months, and the toy drive takes months and months of planning.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. And to be able to reach out and get to folks that, as you said, even with the music, you controlled that journey while they were enjoying that journey. And as you are able to navigate to the drive today, and how you're able to impact people that way, it's really, I give people this advice because I've chatted for a couple with some young people, and I told them, everything that you use in life, every job that you work at, even in a McDonald's or something that you think is that is insignificant, whatever it is not. It never is. It's something that you're gaining insight, you're gaining knowledge, and the principles that you are gaining within that area or that job or event or whatever you're doing for that period of time will be tapped again. You just don't know when and how. And I always give them that advice, to get them to become present in where they're at, to learn as much as they can, to enjoy it, not to change your perspective, as you had mentioned before, that And once you change your perspective, I tell people you're going to win the game, basically, because your perspective is the key. And you said you never let it get you down and so forth. And it does. It's not every day, that we're on top of the world. There are days that we're under the rock, if you will. But we don't stay under the rock. We have a perception that drives us and moves us from under that rock and standing up, moving forward. What advice, because I know there's a lot of young kids today out there that are struggling in whatever way that they are, what advice would you level at them to help them through some of those dark times? Because you have encountered many of those and you're here standing, and there are many that are behind you, if you will, that some of them are about to start, some of them are in it. What would you give to them if you had an opportunity to give to you when you were a young person coming up?
And as cliche as it sounds, it gets better. It gets better. Keep your head down. Keep pushing through. It gets better. Write a game plan out. Sit down and write down your goals. There is something to be said for writing down everything that you have accomplished and I do it. It's an exercise I learned years ago because I'll have my bad days. And I have a list of all my accomplishments. Hey, you got to be the DJ. You still are the DJ. You do this toy drive. You've got this. I'm getting ready to go to an international conference on stigma in Washington, D.C. You have to push and continue to push. And once you learn that skill and learn to enjoy that part of it, that's where the joy comes from. Anybody just handing something to you, you're not going to take care of it and see what it actually is and utilize it the correct way. So you have to have those dark days to appreciate the good days when you get to them. And I promise you, you will get to them.
Yeah, I hope you guys are listening. That is absolutely priceless stuff. It took many years for him to learn that insight, and for him to offer it to you free of charge, if you will, is priceless, guys. Don't give up. I had interviewed this lady one day that made me look at like suicide and everything that she had suffered, suicidal thoughts and attempts that she had suffered as a young girl, about one of our characters. When one of our characters, meaning whatever we believe that we were at that moment, whether it's a husband, a wife, a friend, whatever it is, a boyfriend, girlfriend, that relationship is dying, and one of our characters are dying. We look at that and we tend to believe that that's all of who we are, but that's just a part of who we are. And so when that character that we played for that X amount of years with that individual or those individuals die, we shouldn't look at it as that as the final character of who we are. We get up, and as you said, we just keep moving. And as you keep moving, you will find that you're much more than just that one character, that incident in your life. He talked about being a DJ and now moving to the drive. And those of you guys who are listening to the podcast, the holidays and kids, needs of kids and stuff like that, all those things are coming on. And we want to be able to support. So if you guys, I'm going to provide all the links for you to get to him. And if you want to be a part of that drive to support those that are less fortunate than yourself, and just to give and have a kind heart to do that, I'll provide a link so that you can get to him and be able to be a part of that giving. There's nothing like giving to those who don't have the opportunity to give back to you. It brings a big smile on your face, and you get a chance to see that you're a part of the collective and not an individual by yourself. So here you are, you're doing all of these things. Talk to us, man, about these kids, because I love that you gravitated to this part of your life to be able to give to that degree, the drive where you're able to reach those. Talk about some of those opportunities that you were afforded to do and what it did to the receivers, but also what it did to you as an individual to be able to put that together.
Well, I mean, I've spent so many times, so many years. I've got over probably a year in the hospital before I turned 18. So I know the power of a stuffed animal or a little video game or, just anything, any little gift can turn the day around, especially for a child and even for the parents. I mean, it impacts everybody that's there. And in that scenario, it's not just for the kid, it's also for the parents. And we've had the opportunity to walk the pediatric ward with the Grinch and just knock on doors. We've patients that were in there that are also big brothers or little sisters, big sisters. And so we'll give toys to both kids and, just seeing them light up and seeing the parents light up, because being in the hospital is such just a place to be. And it'll take the wind right out of you. And so it's very nice to be able to see the impact in the instant. The same with the DJing. I mean, it's the same feeling. It's that I get the energy from it. It fills me with joy the exact same way. And all I did was take DJ out of, instead of just being DJ D-REK, I'm just there as D-REK. And that D-REK is a character that I created to DJ under. And I have been able to transform that into also an altruistic character in the community. And I never thought that would be possible.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. When you find your assignment, I tell people this, the beauty about the assignment. First you find it, and then you use the assignment to get things done. But then there comes a time when the assignment begins to use you. And that transition, sometimes we don't even recognize it. It's just one day we're in the midst of something, and then you go, wow, what happened? And you realize then, that day, that your assignment begins to use you. And the vice versa, from you using it, it begins to use you. And you find yourself, like you said, doing and being in places, and you're like, sit back once in a while and go, wow, man, I don't know how this happened at all, because you couldn't plan that. You couldn't plan it. It just was. And as a result of it being just there, it has changed you. You have matured. You have gained such power, such insight, knowledge, that you can, in turn, assist others, even in the simplest of things that you've learned. And it keeps us humble, man. It really does. When we look back from time to time, all that we've done and gone through and come through, realize, man, it keeps us humble, and make sure that we know our place, so that when we reach out to others, we're not doing it in a state of pridefulness, and I love that part about our gifts, man, and our assignment, is that just keeps us humble. As you're here in life, and you're here today, what is your goal with when you look at yourself today, and what's burning in your heart as to some of the things you feel that you need to gravitate to? Because I tell people that happens to us. You're never stagnant. Stagnation is one of the enemies of growth. When I tell people, if you look at anything in nature where there's a stagnant water or anything like that, you see that there's danger there. Lots of diseases and death can be there in that thing. But when you see this moving stream, you can drink, there's life there. You can drink, you see people, you see animals drinking, you see bugs moving, you see all these different things. But when you are stagnant, you see those bugs, but they are different types. They're much deadlier, and they can kill you, if you will. Talk to us as to what you feel in your heart that you're having that tug, if you will, to that one of the assignments are pulling you to do.
I actually got a really big wake-up call not too long ago. I went to the cardiologist, and they checked the pacemaker. And usually when they check it, they will turn it down to see where my heartbeat actually kicks in at. And I now am 100% pacemaker dependent. So that was a big shock. And now I'm going on daily walks and I'm working out and I'm trying to get my heartbeat back up and build that muscle back up. And it's all just a part of getting older and all of that. But yeah, it really showed me that I'm probably spending a little too much time in my office. And I've got to remember to get outside, walk, and get my exercise in every day, get my steps in. As much as I argue with this thing, it's saving my life right now. You know, all those little beeps. You know, as long as I'm getting up and moving, it's keeping me alive, and it's doing its job. Because I used to look at it and just go,
That's awesome.
just, throw my hand over it to make it shut up. Because I was just so focused and locked in being up here, thinking that, no, I've got to get so much done up here in front of a screen, and forgetting that there's a whole outside world and that I've got my phone. I can do everything that I can do on this computer, I can do on this. So yeah, I mean, there's moments where, stagnation will absolutely kill you. And I got a real big kind of punch to remind me of that about 2 months ago.
Yeah. Man, I actually truly enjoy this conversation. And all of you guys that are listening to us, everyone that has been a part of this. And I always encourage the listeners to learn to transition to become a hearer of what is said. Play this over and over again, because D-REK mentioned tons of stuff in there, rich, powerful wisdom that you can utilize in your life, that for those dark places that you're in. Some of you that are dealing with sicknesses and disease, here's a gentleman that has been through much more than the normal individual and can help you. We will provide all of his links so you can get there. I know there are blogs and different pieces of things that he put together that you have access to, that you can learn from him, so that you don't have to be in that dark place, because that's what Threads of Enlightenment is about. That's what this interview is about, is to remind you that you're not alone, first of all, and that there are other people that have gone through some hard times, and we want you to have access to them. And this is one individual. We're going to provide everything for you guys to have access to him, and to be a part of the drives also. Give, man, give. One of the principles is give, and it shall be given to you. Give to the young kids, give to the families that need it, and even close in your life. If there are friends and families around you, give there as well. But I want you guys to reach out and give to D-REK and his organization and his piece that he does to help all the other undeserved kids, especially when you're in the hospital, man. I work in the hospital system, man. And you can lose your hope, you can lose your joy in that place. But when you have someone like D-REK that's coming in and doing what he's doing, you would be surprised of the energy that changes when he's DJing as D-REK in the hospital, and what it does to those kids and the families and stuff like that. Thank you so much for coming, man, to Threads of Enlightenment. I appreciate your wisdom and your knowledge and your time that you've shared with us. It is my honor, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.